These conversations contain mature themes and listener discretion is advised. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, hi Kimathi.
Hi.
How you doing, man?
I'm well.
This is Amani.
Amani.
Yes.
Amani from?
Amani, with the podcast Living Truthfully. We met at the event Inside Man.
Oh yeah, the one for Mental 360.
Yes. The event that was at KNT. I was the moderator for the panel.
I remember. Hi, how are you?
Very good, man. You had such a good performance, bro.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
You're very talented.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
And like I said, I think you should be paid for doing stuff like that.
Well, then you can send me M-Pesa anytime.
Yeah, well, I'll send you M-Pesa for transport. I hope you don't cool up my fare. Anyway, bro, I'm calling because I need a favor. And it's a favor. You know, I do this podcast called Living Truthfully. And it's just about the African man experience, the authentic African man experience.
Okay.
And I thought your performance would be excellent on my podcast.
Okay.
So, you know, I'd love for you to come into studio, do a show with me, and just, you know, get to share your talent and your story with me.
Okay.
Yeah, would you do that for me, please?
Yeah, I think I'm open to it. I listen to a lot of podcasts myself, so it's a very interesting experience for me.
Have you ever been in a recording studio for a podcast?
No, I've never done that.
Have you had a chance to listen to mine? It's called Living Truthfully.
No, I haven't, but I will now listen to it because now you've told me about it.
Please do, bro. I'd love to hear your feedback about the podcast. But more importantly, I think, you know, I'd love for you to share your talent with my listeners.
Yeah. I think I'm open to it. In fact, let me just commit. You know, sometimes I think about things too much. So let me just commit, and then we see.
Fantastic. I'm gonna send you details. I'm gonna send you the location and, you know, when and where.
Yeah.
And dude, I'm just looking forward to having a great time with you in studio.
Thank you, man. If you have a studio, you must be legitimate.
I don't have a studio. Let me correct that, but I do record in a studio.
Okay. As long as the recording is in the studio, you don't have to have the studio, you know? That's important. It shows some...
But you'll get to meet my producer, super producer Lee Kanyoto, an amazing human being at Big City Studios.
Okay. You even have a producer. Okay, now I believe you for real. Before nikana kwa social media kama wewe legitimate or...
I mean, I'm fortunate to have him as a partner to this podcast. So come, let's hang out with him and let's have a real authentic convo.
Sure. You can send me the details and then I guess we can make a plan.
That's all. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.
Very interesting. Living Truthfully. Podcast. What was Amani? Let me check this guy on social media. Amani Living Truth. Amani Maranga. Oh, this guy is actually legitimate. What? He's big time. Okay. About experiences of the African man living truthfully. What? Do I have any pieces on that? Let me try and even right now, by the way. It's long since where do I even start? I always write about white people, but I can't make this about white people. What do I know? I know that there's a difference between a man and an African man. Ooh, yeah, that's good. Between a white man and an I'm talking about always white people. Oh, here's something I think about. When does a boy turn to an African man? Is it at 13, 18, 21, 25? Or maybe you're only a man when you get enough money to provide. For who though? What does provide even mean? You know, Mandela says he became a man when he got circumcised and didn't cry. Apparently I was circumcised when I was 1 year old. If I cried, does it really even count? Anyway, maybe I should be circumcised again. No, that's not possible. In fact, that would make it shorter. It's not that big anyway. At least that's what I think. The longer the better, that's what they say. The bigger the size of your penis. I can't write that. Living truthfully. At least I know from Google that my penis is sized above average. I can't lie, that kind of makes me happy. In a toxic, masculine, egotistic kind of way. It's good to know that you check one box when it comes to manhood. Because to be honest, those other things, I think I'm too afraid to say. I can't go on that podcast and tell them how I stay at home with my parents. And they still pay my insurance. I'm not even that independent. I don't even make a lot of money, but that's kind of relative. I can buy a meal at Java, but that's like every 2 weeks. I like women, but if I'm honest, I haven't even had that many sexual experiences. I don't tell people about how I lost my virginity because I'm actually ashamed of it. But would I be less of a man if I didn't? I don't smoke, I don't drink, and in the context we live in, I don't know if that makes me more of a man or less of one. My face makes me look like I'm 17, at least that's what most people say. When I'm actually 26, my beard took like 23, 24 years to come in, and I don't know if it ever finish. So I guess I'll be 36, but look like I'm 18. I don't know if that's a curse or a blessing. Kind of like this whole poetry thing. I don't know. It's like I'm good at poetry, but sometimes that depends on who's asking. It's so funny how I'm 6'3", but trying to be vulnerable can still feel emasculating. It's like being strong and weak all at the same time. You think it would be so easy to write about being a man. But in truth, I don't completely feel like one. And I can't go on that podcast and say all of these things. Let me call this guy back. What was his name again? Amani Maranga.
Hey, yo, Kimathi.
Yes, hi.
How you doing, man?
I'm good. Amani, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I was calling back because I've actually just realized something. So basically, with the whole show thing, I don't think I'll be able to make it.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's not that I have it's not that I have anything against the show. It's just at the moment we're going through a time in our family where there are several weddings, different and I just have to be there for all of them. So I think maybe in the future we can revisit, but at the moment, I don't think I can commit to the show.
I'm sorry to hear that, man. But, it's all good. Thanks for calling back.
No, thank you also for thinking about me, about the opportunity and everything. I'm very appreciative.
When you're ready, man, let me know. I'd love to have you in the pod.
Thanks, man. I will, for sure.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
All right, cheers. Hey, I've saved myself there. Sawa.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good whatever time it is, wherever you are. Yes, I know this greeting is tired, I understand, but I'm not going to stop it. It's so good, it's inclusive. It means that wherever you are, in Canada, hi Silantoi, or in Australia, hi whoever is in Australia, or in Nairobi, you're included in this conversation. Welcome to episode 56 of Living Truthfully, the podcast. And what amazes me is that you're still here, you're still listening to this podcast, and I'm completely grateful for it. And yes, we have him in studio. We have the guy. His stage name is yours truly. He is 6'3". The guy is so tall he looks down on me. He's a poet. He's a football coach. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Kimathi. Kaumbutho. Is it Kaumbutho?
Yes.
And after such hype, Maze, your name is Kaumbutho.
Yeah. I actually have no English names.
Oh, really? Neither do I.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's just Amani Maranga.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's cool, right?
Yeah, it's very... I've never met anybody who is like me, but now, evidently
I don't know if I'm like you. You're better built, you're tall. You probably fit that thing for tall, dark, and handsome.
Oh, thanks.
Have you had that? Have people told you that?
I don't want to say
ladies.
that I have.
It's okay. Just you can say anything.
Yes, I have heard that.
You've heard. I just accept.
Have you not yourself?
No, I hear tall and in the dark handsome. The lights have to be off. Guys, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, man.
Thank you, man.
And that is such a wonderful piece that you've done. It's beautiful. Thank you. I mean, listen, I don't know, do you guys have wedding stuff going on in your family?
No.
Right now?
No.
Is everyone getting married? I was about to ask you whether you are the one getting married.
No.
Are you getting married soon?
Not yet. I'm hoping to actually. Within the next year and a half.
Are you dating?
That's the plan. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. I know guys who are planning to get married, but they haven't
don't even have started dating. No, I'm well into the process. In fact, she's my everything.
Oh, wow,
so
nice.
That's the plan, very much the plan.
Good stuff. All the best to that.
Yeah.
Then you come and do... So we did a series actually last year called Why Do Men Get Married? I think, was that it, Mr. Producer? It was Why Do Men Get Married, right? Yes. So we did a series called Why Do Men Get Married? And so I want to ask you, why do you want to get married?
I've also thought about this question. What I would say is that I think there's rituals for different moments in life.
There's rituals for different moments
in life that signify a kind of a transition.
Okay.
The same way you have a graduation once you finish high school. You have a graduation once you finish.
They didn't do one in my high school. MFA cheated me, man. There was no graduation, nothing.
But you have those rituals, and I think a wedding ceremony is one of those rituals that signifies you giving a very real part of yourself to someone. Whether let's say...
But why do you want to give yourself to someone?
It's for me, it's part of the process of life, of love. It signifies you sacrificing maybe yourself or some parts of yourself for that person, saying, I want to commit to being with you for the rest of my life. I think there is power in that, and it's a sign of love. It's a sign of love that goes beyond, I want you to be my girlfriend. See, that's very easy. I want you to be my boyfriend. That's very easy, because you always know there's a way you can get out of that situation. But to commit to something, I think there's power in that.
I feel like I should probe this more, but I'm just wondering, are you ready for it? Do you feel ready for it?
No, not at the moment, no. Simply because I think my life affairs are not in order to a point where I can...
You mean financially?
Mainly. But I think financially is the main part. I think that's where I can, provide a home for the both of us, or we can share a home together. And then now go down the process of starting a family. Yeah.
All the best, man.
Thank you.
I actually mean it. All the best. I believe in marriage, despite the fact that mine ended. I believe in marriage. I think that when you bring 100% of yourself into this relationship, and the other person brings 100% of themselves, and if you bring 100% of yourself, despite whether the other person brings 100% or not, if you're ready to do that, and to do that continuously, whether you get 10, you get 20 for the rest of your life. The person just gives you 20 for the rest of your life, If you're ready for that, then it's gonna work.
Yeah. Thank you, man.
I think that's a perspective. But I'm so glad to have you here. First, dude, where did you learn to do such good introspection, Bana? Like that piece is me. It's the process I go through all the time. When I'm asked to speak somewhere, I feel inadequate. I feel like I don't know if I have the right content. I go through this, what I learned is called the imposter syndrome, just as a process of self-doubt that, paralyzes you and stops you from, bringing yourself into a situation where you deserve success. Why did you get this level of introspection at your age, man?
I think I don't know where. I honestly don't know where it came from. I've always been naturally quite a self-aware person, and understanding my own emotions and how I feel. But I think that also came with because as a creative, or as somebody who writes poetry or books, which is what I do, you need to have that. You need to be able to almost see yourself outside of yourself. And this performance that I did at this Mentor 360 gig that we went to.
We were at this event together, Inside Man, that was at KNT. I was moderating a panel, and you were performing. And you did this same piece, but for that day, for that performance.
Yeah.
You're telling me about it.
So I was trying to, because when I thought about the process, and I was obviously invited, and then I thought, okay, how am I going to get the message that I want across? Which is, I think the main message was, don't be so afraid to be vulnerable, but at the same time showing that I, in myself, I'm feeling. I wanted the people who were sitting there in their seats to identify with what I was feeling, because I know a lot of men feel that, whether it's inadequacy or whatever they're feeling. And so I felt if I had gone on stage and said a poem, which is what I usually do, I felt as though it would look a little bit forced, as if, you had just been told to write for that show, and that's why you went and performed that piece. And for me, when you're on stage, whenever somebody does that, you can tell within the first... And you can just tell, even if you don't know how to define it, you'll say there's something missing.
It's not authentic. It's
not.
Can you... Is it... I think the question I'm trying to ask is, how much of this performance was your own experience?
I say everything is. It's the truth about my, at least, most of it is, I'd say all of it is, because I still stay at home with my parents. These are things I still worry about, whether I have enough money. I I think about women. I think, these are all things I've had thoughts about. So everything that's there is real. Yeah. And I thought by showing that process of me trying to write for this show, it would have people gain insight into, it would also be different. It would be different from what other artists are doing.
That's true.
Yeah.
Tell me, do you have a habit of being vulnerable?
It depends. It depends on the setting. That's what I've noticed. I cannot be vulnerable with everybody. And I think, it depends on the person I'm speaking to, the setting that I'm in, how I'm feeling, those kinds of things. Yeah.
You seem to me, I hardly know you, just met you at the event, and this is the second time we're getting to meet.
Yeah.
So I hardly know your story, and I'd love to hear what your experience has been so far up till now. But you seem to me like you come from a very woke place, and you have you already understand vulnerability, and you already know that there are certain spaces that allow you to be vulnerable. Where did that come from? Did you see it modeled? Is it a way your family is? Is it as a result of some experience that you've had?
I think it's experiences that I've had. I was so all my life I've been playing football. For the first 23 years of my life, I was pursuing professional football.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So I was on a lot of teams. I played for many different teams.
Teams like?
Football teams.
Yeah. Any that I would know?
Not any. I played in the US for 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So that's where I was. And being a part of those kinds of environments, you're always interacting with other people.
Yeah.
And you learn certain things, and I would say, I went when I was about 15, and I was actually on my own.
Oh, wow.
My family was not with me when I was in the US. I was in a football academy. And at that point, I didn't know myself. I didn't understand myself. I lived with a lot of anxiety. And it's something that I only realized in the past few years that I had. I was eating, but I couldn't eat because I had this, I don't know how to describe it apart from anxiety or nerves. Just all the time feeling like I have to worry about what's about to happen to me.
Yeah.
Because the environment I was in, I didn't understand. There were people around me who they were speaking English. I can't understand what they're saying, At the same time, I don't know. I'm trying to navigate this world that I have and there is no really anybody to help me.
To guide the navigation.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would notice, I used to speak with my parents on Skype was what we used every Sunday. And I remember feeling within those first few Skype sessions, there are things I cannot say. Simply because the way they had raised me until I was 15 didn't allow space for those kinds of things to be said, which I think a lot of people can relate to, So I would end up trying to paint my world the way they ideally would see it, as opposed to giving them the real.
They expect it to be.
Yeah, the real version. And I think that it weighed down on me. It made me feel like, okay, I can't really be myself in that environment. Where can I, try to? And so now going through that journey over several years, you meet a friend and you notice that, I'm closer with my friend than I am with my brother. Why is that the case, And then you notice that this person has maybe allowed you in more. You're sharing more things with them. And I think now that, I think I got drawn towards that because I had a lot of things to share. Yeah.
Wow. So can you say that you had good male friendships, or a male friendship that sort of helped you or taught you vulnerability? Or was it a female friend? Maybe it was. Maybe I'm making an assumption because of the series we've just been doing about male friendships.
In fact, if I can look at vulnerability, I think it only started to come when I was more confident of myself. Before that, vulnerability wouldn't really be vulnerability because I wouldn't show every part of myself. There were the parts I would show was the parts that I thought people were okay seeing, or I would know they wouldn't judge me for. But for example, I'll tell you the first 21 years of my life, I believed that I was going to wait until marriage, until I was to have sex. That's okay to say. You see, I'm even wondering whether it's okay to say.
It's called living truthfully, man. In this podcast, we say everything.
Yeah. And that in itself was something I had so much fear in telling other people. But you see, once they already look up to you, or you feel confident enough in yourself, you don't question what that person is going to say, because I'm okay with I already love myself. I don't need your approval, kind of thing. But I only started to develop that, I think, within the past 3 years, to where I knew I am more accepting of myself, my circumstances. So when when I see the judgment of someone else, it's almost like
it doesn't really affect you. What happened in the last? What was there a switch that came on 3 years ago that started this journey for you, or what was that transition like? What happened that made you feel like now I'm starting to understand myself?
And be more vulnerable. I think it was a number of things. One of them was status. When you know you have a career and things are going well, and at the same time, I think finding love was a big one, because once you have love from somebody who you see them as everything, and they love you, it was almost like, so the rest of you people, I really don't care what you think about me, you know? I have love from the most important person in my life. That was a big one, and I think that's why sometimes they say it's easier to fall in love with somebody who is already in a relationship, because they look like they don't need acceptance, so they are already. Whereas when you don't have that, you're very. Because even my own process of trying to find a girlfriend was that kind of, let me try and love myself first and be okay with myself first, and that was a process. And then I could eventually try and seek a partner. I noticed that is the healthiest way to do it, as opposed to looking for acceptance in the other person.
Letting the other person define you. That statement for you complete me, and I'm like, okay, shucks, but maybe maybe you're like 20 kgs less than what I need, because you don't necessarily complete everything that I. Good stuff. So tell me, where did you grow up? How did you get into football? Like, tell me who's Kimathi, man?
And now a word from our sponsors.
If you would like to sponsor or advertise on our podcast, Living Truthfully, reaching audiences just like you, please contact us on livingtruthfully@thamanimedia.com. That's Living Truthfully at THAMANI media.com. Thank you, and we're looking forward to partnering with you in adding value to our listeners' lives. So tell me, where did you grow up? How did you get into football? Like, tell me who's Kimathi, man?
I grew up here in Nairobi. Football was everything from about the age of 7. That was the main thing, and everything was, how can I get better at football and eventually go and play for Arsenal, because that was my dream. Because we used to watch Arsenal every weekend. So from the age of 7, I played for many different clubs, League Ndogo, Maisa, Mathare Youth, all of these different clubs I was playing for. But I wasn't really able to find, it's still the problem that we face nowadays, and it's something that I'm trying to change. But young athletes can't really find opportunities to pursue their sport at a higher level. So I was looking everywhere, my parents were trying to help. I reached an age where it was time to make some tough decisions, because now the avenue was nothing was shown to me. When I was 15, now we went on, my father, my brother and I, we went on a trial at a football academy that they found in the US. They call it soccer there, a soccer academy. And I had a trial for 2 weeks, and that was the moment where it seemed like that was everything I'd ever wanted. So I went and I performed quite well. The coaches said, hey, I think you should come to our full-time program. Eventually, as I went on with the process, I would eventually get scholarships and such. But in the beginning, I didn't have one. So it was my parents had to really sacrifice a lot of things to make that possible for me, because it was not cheap at all. But I guess I can say that, you know, as time went on, I kind of gave that back to them.
Yeah.
And initially, I think they had told me it was just 1 year. We can do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that for you.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end of this 1 year, he's going to come back and say, okay, I don't like football anymore. I want to, I want to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. I played the first year and I was just in, that's what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to pursue. So I played for 3 years there at that academy, ended up earning a scholarship. I went on scholarship to play in the college game, which is quite advanced there in the US. I played with players from all over the world. I played semi-professionally as well, and had professional opportunities. It's only in 2017 when I was 23 that I decided to no longer pursue it. And I think the reason behind that is because I had reached a level that in my mind I had wanted to reach. For me, football was very much about proving everybody wrong. Since I was a young boy, everyone was telling me, you know, this football thing, okay, yeah, you enjoy it, but you know, it's just a hobby, you know, lazima uende usome, you know, that kind of mentality. So it now put this like fire in me of, I just want to prove everybody wrong, you know, and that pushed me until a point where I felt like I had reached. Then it was like, okay, why am I really playing? Once I had asked those questions, I felt it was okay. I could rest my head at night knowing I've done everything I can. You know, I think that's where most athletes try to get to. You can't always be the
most
Messi.
human beings try to get to about life generally.
Yeah,
Everything.
yeah. And you can't. Not everybody gets to be Messi, but they still have to sleep. You know, so as long as you know you've done everything you could have, you know, and you're okay with that, and that's a state of fulfillment that I had reached. And so at that point, I decided to now navigate this world of Nairobi and try and create opportunities for other student athletes like me to get those kinds of opportunities that I got.
So you're running a soccer academy as well?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called True Talents of Africa.
True Talent of Africa. And if I want to get, you know, on my son on the academy, what do I do?
You have to apply. Yeah, so there's an application.
How do I get the application form?
It's on the website. If you go to truetalentsofafrica.org, you'll find the application process.
And I'll find all the information that I need.
You find all the information. Yeah.
So you're doing soccer, you're doing poetry. What else are you doing apart from dating?
I work with the Ministry of Sports as well.
Okay.
As a talent development officer. That's what they call it.
Oh wow.
So I'm doing that as well. Yeah.
Wow. Bro, you've reached Jedi level of actualization, so to speak, because a lot of men go through what you've gone through in the last 3 years in their 40s. And I don't think that's the end. I mean, it's going to happen again. You're going to have another, maybe 7-10 years. You're going to ask, okay, what am I doing now? Is this working?
Yeah.
Should I do this differently? Yeah. And then you're going to go through that again in another 7-10 years. So it's a cycle that happens. But for most people, that cycle is delayed the first time round. And it's delayed for long. But you had it at 23, man. You're a lucky guy.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that is one thing. There's a quote that I keep reading where it says, there's nothing better in life to find something than to find something, to work hard at something worth doing. Yeah. And I think the problem is that many of us, especially us young people, we haven't found that thing that we're really willing to struggle for. We found things that make us happy, but the thing that you're really willing to struggle for is harder to find. And I think that is where, especially because we have a lot of choice, and choice breeds anxiety. You know, it's like you go to a restaurant, if there's, 700 things on the menu, suddenly I start to feel uncomfortable. Whereas if it was, okay, there's ugali, there's chapati, you just pick one and you eat it.
It's a simpler choice.
It's a simpler choice,
Hey, that's a deep statement. You said options or choice causes anxiety. It's a crazy deep statement. I'm going to think about it for like 3 days.
I think a lot of youth are going through that kind of thing, where you don't have one career choice anymore. And the challenge is now, because you pick one career or you pick one thing to do, you have to sacrifice another thing, which you may not always be prepared to sacrifice.
Tell me, you've had, I think since we met at the Inside Man, I don't know if you've had a chance to interact with my podcast.
I have a lot, actually.
What do you think of it? What has it been for you?
In fact, I was telling you this earlier, but you know, I'll tell you of another time where older people in our society, I noticed that it's harder for them to, I don't know if I can't speak for them, but they're generally not as vulnerable about the things that are happening in their lives. So I grew up to a father who, maybe if we're having financial struggles at one point, he would never tell us that. He wouldn't share that. Maybe he would share that with my mom or something like that, but he'd never say. My mom maybe is going through she never doesn't say it. Those are things you don't, even family functions, it was almost like it's painted in this like great light of everybody's succeeding, everything is great, but it's not like that. And you rarely hear somebody who is 30, 40 years of age who is saying those kinds of things. And so when I was listening to the podcast, I see a guy who is 35 plus and he's talking about challenges that he's having, whether it's marriage, and I'm like, where else where else in Nairobi do you hear that? You don't. So you end up seeing these older people as superheroes that don't have any problems, and then you try and emulate that. But when you try and emulate that, it's with this, you're trying not to fail. You don't have any space to fail. You don't have any space to be vulnerable. You can't tell somebody who you see as a superhero that, hey, I can't do this particular thing that you have made look so easy.
So are you saying we're doing a disservice to younger men when we don't share our struggles? Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Because if I can't connect with you entirely, then I can't really be inspired or motivated by your story. Because it looks like you've only shown me one side. How did your life just, transform?
So does it put pressure on you when you see that success? I'm doing the quote marks. Does it you feel pressure?
Yeah, in a big way. Especially for my family, you know how they say to whom much is given, much is expected. We never had to struggle for food. We went to good schools, my brother and I. And because of that, you almost, instead of seeing that as a blessing, it can also be...
Oh, that's pressure. You've got to pay tax, man. You've got to pay black tax.
Now and then your parents are there and they keep telling you those stories of, when I was your age, I didn't even have shoes. And then, you've grown up listening to that.
Yeah.
So you start to see my father, my mother, they never failed at anything. They were completely perfect. So being that I have grown up in a better environment than them, how can I ever mess up? I can't.
There's no chance.
So I either go above the line where I do above and beyond because I have to, or I go below the line and do less because I feel I want. It's almost like you can't ever see yourself going above the line. You can never be in the middle. Yeah.
How do you feel like you're doing now? 26 in life. Just how do you feel like you're doing?
I think I'm in a good place. This season of my life at the moment is a good place. I know that things will change, but I think I notice I have certain habits or certain things about me that give me the confidence that even if it would take something very, very different or very unexpected to limit me from what I want to do. That's what I would say.
This is such a good convo because it challenges me. It challenges me to be continually vulnerable and honest about the experiences that I'm going through, the good, the bad, the ugly. this podcast has been about my healing. All this time round. It's been about my healing, my finding myself, my growth. But I'm starting to see the responsibility that it carries for people like you who are just one step generation, from me.
Yeah.
And I'm to say, man, if you're anything like, if you're representative of the generation that's coming behind me, dude, we've been wrong about you. Your hope. That's what you are. Your hope. And if I can do anything for you today, I'd say thank you. Thank you for sharing yourself. And I'd say, dude, your path is just gonna get brighter. It's just gonna get better. You'll have hurdles. It's true. But you have already within you everything that you need to succeed. And I'm not just saying that. I can see it. You've got everything within you that you need to succeed. And just that level of self-awareness, that's half the battle won.
Yeah.
That's literally half the battle won. So I can't wait to see what Kimathi, Kaumbutho, that name, will look like, 15 years from now, 10 years from now. I can't wait to see what you become. And the only thing I say is build company around you that's like you. People that have the same value system. They don't have to be exactly like you, but they share the same values, the same general outlook to life. They might have some different perspectives, and that's important for growth.
Yeah.
But at the core of who they are, they're just like you, and you'll be all right. And thank you for sharing your talent with us, man.
Oh, man. Wow. That's almost overwhelming. Thank you. And also, I want to encourage not only you, but men like you. Because I remember there was a time when I was, he was an older gentleman that I'd met at church. And he was actually a rapper or a former rapper. And he made music. And so he invited me to his studio, and he was an older man. And I remember he as it was very contrary to what I was used to in the conversation that we had, because he told me how his life used to be. And it was I remember it so well because it was the first time that an older man had spoken to me about pornography. And he was saying how he was addicted to pornography, and it really messed with things in his marriage. This is a guy I've met, this is probably the third time that we're meeting, and he's telling me about how it's affecting. And I was completely...
That's mind-blowing.
Because nobody had ever told me about those things. And it makes me wonder if when I was 13, 14, if somebody had come to me and told me, hey, there are these things in the world, they exist. This is the side of them that is ugly. This is the then it kind of, I don't know what effect it would have had on me, but at least I would have been aware. So that when it comes, it doesn't hit me like,
Yeah.
And so I feel like we need more men who are, it's okay, especially older men, it's okay to tell younger people that they can fail, or that that it's okay. That's what I feel we need. And that's what this podcast has been to me, because I listened to many of the episodes, and I'm like, this is a man who is 35, 40 years old, and I can't even believe he's saying this. Is this thing, I was almost thinking like, am I the only one hearing this? Is this public? Can somebody go and access this? Because some of those things are they're so vulnerable and they're so real. Yeah.
And I hope if we learn anything like I've learned now, it's to just live life like that. Yeah. Just live life truthfully, and vulnerably. And it's okay to fail, bro. Because when you fail, you learn to fail forward. And if you can learn to fail forward, that what you get out of it is always a better version of you.
Yeah.
Always an improved version of you. But thank you for those words. Kind words, man.
No problem. It's so much easier said than done, eh? In terms of it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll ever truly believe that until because I think much of what has brought me to this point is that belief that you can fail.
Yeah.
You must succeed.
Yeah. You have to try. But life teaches you some things, and I think part of it is to humble you as well. And I've been humbled and humiliated. So, dude, if I wanted to book you as a poet, how do I get you? Is there an email address you can put out there? Let's push your talent, man.
Yeah, no, you'd have to speak to my agent and then my manager and then my secretary and
and that's me. I get 20%.
Messing. Social media is yours truly, KK, on Facebook, Instagram. There is somebody who's helping me with the bookings and everything. His name is Ian. He works with an organization called Creative Spills.
Okay.
So I think those are avenues.
How do I reach Ian?
Ian, Creative Spills is the name of his organization.
Creative Spills. Can I find him on social media?
Yeah, you can find him online and everything like that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, man, for coming through. Thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you,
appreciate it. How was the podcast experience?
This feels big time. I feel like
yeah, you made it.
Feels big time.
You made it. I'm just playing with you. But thank you so much. I really appreciate how freely and truly you've shared yourself and your talent with us. And dude, I can't wait to see what happens to you.
Thank you, man.
All right. God bless, man. See you next week, guys.